Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 185.
On Now You Know. Brought to you as always by our fabulous Patreon patron supporters. We have exclusive t-shirts, signed posters, and mugs, and all sorts of goodies on Patreon, so go check it out and help support the show.
And as Amazon associates we earn from qualifying purchases, you'll find the link down below to help support the show.
And with new designs uploaded every week at ecoware.us, we have carbon offset the manufacturer, the shipping, and the life cycle of your purchase. And we plant a tree for every order, and it looks like we're wearing something reminiscently repeated but yet new.
Yeah, so we've got all the different colors of the Model Y. So if you've just gotten your Model Y or you're about to get your Model Y, or you know someone who's about to get their Model Y, you can get this shirt for them and they'll like it.
The Model Y is here, by the way, and
Yes.
we just got to go check it out. Special thanks to our buddy Robert, who lives right here in the same town as we do, and he's got a white Model Y, so he's going to definitely want that t-shirt.
Absolutely.
So that was really cool, except it was also really weird because of the double plus bad cold. We had to stay socially distanced.
Yes.
But that didn't affect getting to check it out.
Yeah, we got to see basically everything we would have normally gotten to see. I mean, the amazing part is the similarities between the Model 3 and the Model Y, with the exception of the size.
Yeah, I mean, it almost made it so that like it felt like in the beginning I had nothing to talk about. And then you reminded me, no, Zach, people who are getting the Model Y don't necessarily know much about the Model 3, because I just wanted to call it a Model 3 that's 7 inches higher.
Right, which it is. But,
Right.
I mean, the cool part is that it is. That's the wonderful thing about it, is that, Model 3 is great as a sedan. But then if you want something that's a little bit bigger, that can accommodate a little bit more people, has a hatchback, has a lot more storage room, and is a little bit higher up off the ground, but still have all of the great performance of the Model 3, because normally when you go for a crossover, you're not thinking of like, I'm going to smoke some people in this car,
Right.
Which you totally get with the Model Y. So that's really cool.
When we pulled up to it, it looked a lot like the Model X. It has the same look from behind as the Model X to me, and yet it also looks so much like the Model 3. It's kind of cool that, I mean, obviously the same designer, Franz von Holzhausen, and he did a fabulous job.
Right. And I mean, a lot of the parts are the same, like on the outside of the car, like the headlights, the taillights, they all look exactly the same. It's just the dimensions are slightly different.
So what did we get to learn when we got to see Roberts up close?
So remember that bar that we talked about on the rear seat pass-through? So that's if you keep both
The Model Y has a bar?
Okay.
Elon, you're so cool. So is it stocked with Tesla Kila?
Like a bar that is made out of metal.
Oh, right. The seat that holds the seat.
Yes. So,
I thought that it was permanent. You thought it might fold.
And
Turns
it's
out
permanent,
it's permanent.
which is, I think, probably the worst part of
It's
the car.
the worst part of the Model Y.
Which says a lot about how awesome the Model Y is. So basically, this is just if you're ever going to be using just the pass-through thing. Because most of the time, if you needed to fold down, I think it's about 70% of the seats, you would just fold down the left half and you wouldn't have to worry about any kind of bar.
Yeah, well, slow down there, buddy.
Yeah.
Pass-through. So what would you use a pass-through for?
Surfboards or 2x4s.
But why not just fold down the whole thing?
Well, if you want to have two people in the back seats.
Oh, so if you want to go skiing or surfing and bring 4 people, you could do it.
Or construction.
And I
with
suppose that
2x4s.
little bar you could use to like attach like a bungee cord to or something.
Yeah, there's potential upsides for it.
Would you ever allow me to put 2x4s in a Model Y if we had one?
I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to stop you. You've done enough dumb things in the Model. If there was a pass-through in the Model X, you would have probably done something.
It by now. Yeah. And what really impressed me about the rear of the Model Y is that it has a lot of storage. I know this is like totally obvious, but this is a 5-seater, and it's so much easier access when it's higher off the ground, right? So, I mean, Robert was showing here getting his men's mountain bike out of the car so he could put the whole bike in the back of the car.
Right. And that's a lot harder with the Model 3 because you have that trunk opening, whereas with the hatchback, it's a hatchback. You can put the bike in the back of the car. No problem. You don't have to like squeeze it through or like take a hacksaw to the handlebars like I usually have to do.
Oh, you know what else the Model Y doesn't come with?
What?
Those grocery bag hooks in the front of the frunk.
Right. Which is...
Other worst thing in the Model Y.
Well, okay. I mean, So in the Model 3, there are the grocery bag hooks.
Although those have disappeared, we heard, in the 2020 models.
Right. And honestly, I know why. It's because they're fairly unusable, especially if you're using larger bags, because they're reusable bags, which I tend to do.
I mean, Robert has a Model 3. He didn't even know about the Model 3 hooks.
Right,
So.
because they're not that useful. It's not deep enough to where you're actually going to be hanging anything. Right. You're just going to be kind of laying it over. It's so not deep. In the Model 3, in the Model Y, it is extraordinarily deep frunk. In
Very
fact,
useful.
I thought that you could put a shelf across the 2 points, because it kind of comes up at one point, and then there's these 2 flat spots. And I'm just saying, Evannex or one of the other Tesla accessory companies, that's a great, just put a little shelf there, have all your like emergency supplies underneath there, like your road flares and your...
so you're saying like a Velcro shelf or something?
No, just something...
Like a foot pedal shelf. Like guitar players could put their foot pedals on there.
You could do that. That would be another... There you go.
But
right.
when you open the front, there's no more struts. So you can't do an auto-opening DIY thing like you can on the Model 3.
Right. That was... I don't want to say it's weird. I mean, it's kind of cool that they got rid of, it looks a lot cleaner without the struts there. But yeah, now again, you can't put any stronger struts in that'll automatically open the front. I think that there could be workarounds around this. It was never something that I really needed. To be honest, it was never something that I was like, oh, I'm going to die because I'm holding this big bag of stuff.
I feel like companies like Evannex could still come up with a product that would allow you to do the same thing. I mean, you had to replace the struts before,
right?
But now you could just add some, maybe. I mean,
yeah, or add something a little cleaner.
Maybe it involves some welding. I don't know. But.
I think you could get around using welding.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's
just some nails and.
I think glue would honestly work.
Really?
It's not that much force.
Oh, so let's talk about ground clearance.
Yeah.
When the Model 3 and the Model Y were parked next to each other, as you're seeing here, I was like, is there any difference between the ground clearance? And it's only about 1 inch difference in the ground clearance. And for an SUV, I was just, I don't know, the Model 3 looks so close to the ground.
Right.
And then I kind of expected the Model Y, since it's 7 inches higher, to look like a lot higher, but it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who was really planning on like taking this on some kind of like rock crawling excursion, although they have now this off-road mode, which is cool for the Model Y. But yeah, I mean, it's not a ton of ground clearance. Like, and I've done some stupid stuff with my Model 3, and I've definitely bottomed out before. But 1 inch was never going to make the difference.
Right. Beautiful glass roof. You're seeing some footage here of inside what it looks like. And I got to say, it rivals the Model X because you've just got no beam across the front to block your view. It's just nothing but glass.
Yeah. The Model X is only good for the driver, which is nice because you have that glass roof that goes all the way back. And the Model 3 is really nice, but only if you're like in the back seat and you're kind of turned around looking backwards. In the Model Y, I don't know how they did it, but it's just so much more glass if you're in the back seat. It was really, really, really nice.
While we're in the back seat, let's just talk about legroom. I mean, we had heard the numbers, but this is actually really comfy looking back seat. Now, we couldn't get in because double plus bad cold.
We got to be safe. But
yeah, it looked very comfy. And I mean, we've been in the back before during the unveil.
True. And I mean, one thing to notice here is that the seats are higher off of the floor of the car. So in the Model 3, you kind of run into that problem if you have long legs that, your knees are kind of sticking up just a little bit. In the Model Y, that problem goes away because the floor is just that much further down. And also the rear seats had reclining.
Yeah.
Like many levels of reclining.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
No, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was like motor actuated.
Yeah, that's just like an electronic latch or something.
The Chrome Delete looks really good up close.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what it was going to look like because the only Chrome Delete I've seen on Tesla so far are like, plastic dip. This looked, like they did it right from the beginning. So that looked really nice.
So Robert's only had his Model Y for about 24 hours when we saw him, but he said that the lack of wind and road noise was perceptibly lower than the Model 3. And then another really cool point I just want to bring up here that Robert has a Model 3, and he did a really cool wheel hack here. These wheels you're seeing on his Model 3 are the W115s by Radius, and they're a lot cheaper than Tesla's wheels, yet they look eerily similar.
Right.
You can get them at Tire Rack. The only thing he had to do to finish them off was to order the Tesla wheel cover, and he had to add a little duct tape to make the rim the right width.
Right. I would say that that's optional. The cool thing, though, is that you could get them in 18 inches, which is nice in the winter. You don't necessarily need that 19-inch rim.
And they're $150 each for the wheel, so that's a lot cheaper than Tesla's.
And I also want to thank our friend Roger for sharing some of his footage of his Model Y. He did a really great job in showing off some of the same features that we were looking at, but maybe it filmed a little bit better.
And then Tesla filmed a little bit of their own with the Model Y.
Yeah.
Decided to show it off. I mean, yeah, it's a sexy SUV.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway here, is that there aren't too many like performance, CUVs that like you would really consider. Like, I'm sure that there's some people who be like, my CUV is very, fast. But the performance Model Y is doing quite well.
Yeah.
Even stacked up against the Model 3 performance, which puts it ahead of basically most of its competition.
For me, the Model 3 was the big defining moment for Tesla. So the Model Y to me was just kind of like icing on the cake. And I never really put as much thought into it because I'm like, well, we've already achieved everything we need with the Model 3. We've got this car spreading all over the world. But now the Model Y, I've just realized, like, it's sunk into my brain that is going to be even bigger than the Model 3 for many people.
Right. It's so much more of an everything car than the Model 3. Like, the Model 3 can accommodate a ton of storage. I mean, there is a lot of storage space in the Model 3. I don't want to downplay how amazing the Model 3 is, but to have more storage and more legroom and just about more of everything in the Model Y, and it's a hatchback, that is what sets the Model Y apart from the Model 3, and that is why it is actually even more important than the Model 3.
Now, as of the end of work today, Monday, Tesla has had to shut down both its Fremont and its Buffalo, New York Gigafactories due to the double plus bad cold. Giga Nevada is still open making battery packs and powertrains, but with reduced workforce since they are supporting the Fremont factory. Now, the good news is that Tesla announced that they will use the downtime to make improvements and upgrades to the Fremont factory.
Also, Tesla has pulled a building permit for $8.5 million worth of work. Now, this could be for another tent style, which is called a sprung structure for the Model Y, similar to the Model 3 line that is still underneath this big tent.
$8.5 million, that really does point to probably something like the sprung structure. It's not enough to like build an entire building, but it does seem like what they're going to be spending on the sprung structure.
Right. I mean, I'm not usually, out there quoting giant buildings or sprung structures at all. So, take what we say with a grain of salt, but I don't know.
Now, Tesla has released a statement, which we'll read to you here. In the past few days, we have met with local, state, and federal officials. We have followed and are continuing to follow all legal directions and safety guidelines with respect to the operations at our facilities and have honored the federal government's direction to continue operating. Despite taking all known health precautions, continued operations in certain locations has caused challenges to our employees, their families, and our suppliers. As such, we have decided to temporarily suspend production at our factory in Fremont from end of day March 23rd, which will allow an orderly shutdown. Basic operations will continue in order to support our vehicle and energy service operations and charging infrastructure as directed by the local, state, and federal authorities. Our factory in New York will temporarily suspend production as well, except for those parts and supplies necessary for service, infrastructure, and critical supply chains. Operations of our other facilities will continue, including Nevada and our service and supercharging network. In many locations, we are in the process of implementing touchless deliveries, so customers can continue to take delivery of their vehicle in a seamless and safe way. Due to the unique over-the-air connectivity of our vehicles, customers are able to unlock their new cars at a delivery parking lot via the Tesla app, sign any remaining relevant paperwork that has been placed in their car, and return their paperwork to an on-site drop-off location prior to leaving. This method provides additional convenience and comfort. Our cash position at the end of Q4 2019 was $6.3 billion before our recent $2.3 billion capital raise. We believe this level of liquidity is sufficient to successfully navigate an extended period of uncertainty. At the end of Q4 2019, we had available credit lines worth approximately $3 billion, including working capital lines for all regions, as well as financing for the expansion of our Shanghai factory. So you might be thinking that this shutdown of the Fremont factory is going to put Tesla on the ropes, but let's not forget about this. Giga Shanghai is running smoothly. According to this tweet last Thursday from Elon, China is operating normally across hundreds of suppliers and all of Tesla Shanghai.
And Morgan Stanley analyst Adam Jonas said last week, on our analysis of its liquidity and discussion with the company, as well as our stress testing, we believe Tesla is strong enough to weather several months of near shutdown of operations if necessary. Stock target of 460.
Yep, and Pierre Ferragut of New Street said Tesla can survive 5 quarters with cash on hand if its Fremont factory is shut down.
That's huge. I mean, I just want to talk about this. That is amazing to have 5 quarters. That's a year and a quarter of cash that you could just maintain on.
And if you've been wondering, as we have been sitting around thinking like, what's going on with this double plus bad cold? We can't really talk about it in this show, but we are going to be talking about it on the Patreon bonus story. So check out that. We have some thoughts that we'd like to share with you there. And the other good news here is that Giga-Berlin is still being worked on. As we see here from footage from Tesla kid Grunhind, his cool drone shots of Giga-Berlin being worked on. This, obviously, you can keep this kind of construction site working even in these conditions. And so, yeah, we're still forging ahead on Giga-Berlin. So it's just funny to me that like a year ago, you would have thought that, all of Tesla's eggs were pretty much in Fremont's basket, right? If Fremont goes down, no more cars are being made. But actually, fast forward to today, and with a Gigafactory in Shanghai as well, now they've got production going on, continuing to go on in China, which is the biggest car market in the world.
Right.
So this story really stuck in my craw. The NTSB ruled last week on the March 1st, 2019 fatal accident where a Model 3 hit a tractor trailer that had crossed the highway. NTSB stated in its conclusion, the NTSB determined the probable cause of the fatal crash to be the truck driver's failure to yield the right-of-way to the car, combined with the car driver's inattention due to over-reliance on automation, which resulted in the car driver's failure to react to the presence of the truck.
So the first...
I agree with the first part.
Main cause was the truck driver's failure to yield the right of way to the car before crossing a highway where this car was traveling at 68 miles an hour.
Take a look here, and this is showing second by second of what you would have seen if you were the Model 3, because we have that footage. So 2 seconds before the impact, this is what you would have seen if you had been the driver of that Tesla. And that's about the point, as I was looking at these pictures, that I think I would have been like, uh-oh, got to do something.
Right.
Before that point, I would have seen the truck on the right, but I would have thought, oh, he's merging with traffic. Like, I'll just pull over to the left lane. Everything will be fine. So with 2 seconds, and that's the key here, with 2 seconds to react, I would have probably slammed on the brakes and tried some kind of avoidance maneuver.
Now, given the fact that the Tesla was driving at 68.8 miles an hour, it's unclear as to whether you would have stopped in time. It certainly would have made a big difference. Like, well, you definitely wouldn't have sheared the top of the car off.
Right.
But it would have certainly been a very dangerous accident for the driver.
Yeah, I mean, according to the car stopping calculator that I checked, with taking into account drivers' reaction times and the speed of the car, it would have taken 304 feet to come to a stop. And so that's 100 feet past the truck. So, I mean, yes, you would have been hitting it slower, but you still would have hit it.
Right. And that is with what we consider to be where we probably would have, like, taken note and been like, oh, this truck is doing something I really don't want it to do.
So it was the truck driver's fault, period. All this talk about why the driver of the Tesla was inattentive is not material to this crash. We don't know why he was inattentive. Maybe he was tired and he fell asleep. The point is, why are we even talking about autopilot when it was the truck driver's fault? NTSB said the driver engaged the autopilot about 10 seconds before the collision. From less than 8 seconds before the crash to the time of impact, the vehicle did not detect the driver's hands on the steering wheel. I want to stop right there.
Right.
That shows that the NTSB doesn't even understand how Teslas work.
Because the thing with Teslas is that there is no hand sensor. There is no like capacitive or magical way that the car knows that your hands are on the wheel. When it does the check, it checks to see if there is torque applied to the wheel, and you have to actually apply the torque. If you simply place your hands on the wheel, it's not going to detect that you are doing anything. You have to apply a slight torque, and that basically tells, whatever mechanism it is, hey, there is being some force applied to the wheel, which means that the person must be awake. That's the way that Tesla has been working since the beginning.
Right. For NTSB to find fault with the driver, but then try and put fault on the Tesla makes no sense to me. How about this for a finding from the NTSB? Why can you drive across a highway at all?
Right.
Okay, why aren't we looking into that? You know why? Because it's easier to pick on Tesla politically than it is to either change the laws about crossing highways or training truck drivers to look both ways better.
Right.
So instead, NTSB Chairman Robert Sumwalt commented on the investigation's latest findings. The Delray Beach investigation marks the third fatal vehicle crash we have investigated where a driver's over-reliance on Tesla's autopilot and the operational design of Tesla's autopilot have led to tragic consequences. In the Mountain View crash, that over-reliance was coupled with the equally deadly menace of distraction, demonstrating the insidious nature of the threat and the lack of policy and technology to eliminate it. Let me just back up here. NTSB investigates about 500 road vehicle investigations per year. That's excluding their aviation investigations. And by the way, it gets to choose which ones to investigate. So let's look at that for a second. They get to decide, yeah, we don't need to investigate that, or we should investigate that.
So, I mean, they're choosing 500 out of what, like 1,000, 2,000 like cases where they should be investigating?
Over the past 2 years, there have been over 70,000 deadly crashes in the U.S. that they could have chosen to investigate. So what was the cause of those 70,000 plus people losing their lives? And here's a better question. How many lives were saved in the past 2 years that Tesla Autopilot was engaged?
Let's do the math here.
All right.
In the past 2 years, Teslas have collectively traveled over 2 billion miles in autopilot. So doing the math, we would expect to see 30 fatalities attributable to those 2 billion miles. But how many deaths occurred in those 2 billion miles? 3. So therefore, autopilot saved 27 lives. Now this lines up really well with Tesla's own data, which shows that it is safer to drive in autopilot than it is to drive without it. And Tesla's data says that it's only about 6 to 8 times safer to drive in autopilot. Now that is if you are going to get into a crash. That is, probability of collision, not probability of death. But if you're driving in a Tesla and you're in autopilot, with the data that we have, and there are only 3 data points, I understand that, but this is 3 out of 30 that we would expect to see for average. You are 10 times less likely to die if you are in autopilot. That is what the data says.
Right. But here's the thing. When you almost got into an accident in your Tesla and it saved your life, you don't call up the newspaper and go, hello?
Yes, this is the Morning Times.
Oh, yeah, I want to report a story. I was driving my Tesla and it saved my life.
Wait, so did anyone die?
No, that's what I'm telling you. I would have died, but my Tesla saved my life.
Hang on, was anyone like horribly disfigured?
No. What I'm saying is there was no accident.
Okay, sir, we're not interested in any stories where no one dies or is horribly misfigured.
No,
Was there any robberies or anything? Like,
no.
Was there any kind of interesting? Okay, goodbye, sir. Goodbye. Yes, we need to find other interesting stories. Goodbye. Click. No one's interested in like, oh, I almost got into an accident, right? That's not the interesting part. So that is the really annoying part about this NTSB stuff, is that they aren't looking at this stuff statistically. They are just picking Tesla out of nowhere and being like, hey, you got some crashes. What's going on with this stuff? Doesn't make any sense. If you actually follow science, you would be saying, hey, you had 10 times fewer fatalities for the number of miles you traveled in autopilot. What is up with that? We should do a study on that and find out why that's true.
Yeah, or a study on why we're letting trucks cross highways.
Right. Because let's assume for a moment that all drivers, right, are going to be doing whatever kind of distracted driving stuff all the time. Let's say all drivers, doesn't matter whether you're driving a Tesla or not, are going to be doing these distracting activities, whether it's eating or putting on makeup or texting, it's usually texting, or drunk. Now you throw autopilot into the mix, and it's going to prevent you from leaving your lane or, in many cases, smashing into the back of some car.
Yeah, and that's in the title of their board, the National Transportation Safety Board.
Right.
So why aren't they like, this is great. Wow, Teslas are safer. Let's tell the public about that.
That's the really frustrating part.
It's super frustrating.
Right. So yeah, when people are going to be coming up to you and being like, oh, did you hear about the latest Tesla crash? Oh, I can't believe it. Teslas are so dangerous. You go, wait a minute.
There's a clip for that.
Wait a minute, bucko. Yeah, there's a clip for that. Here, let me send you that real quick. Let me Yeah, so head over to our Clips channel. You can send this to all your annoying friends who want to keep pestering you about Tesla crashes because, as we've just pointed out, it is statistically safer to be driving an autopilot.
Way safer.
Whew, let's get to some good news here.
to-
Yeah, here we go. Iceland.
Okay, take a look at Iceland.
Yes.
All of 2020, Tesla was the second highest selling car manufacturer in Iceland. That's like against Toyota, all the biggies.
All cars.
That's not just EVs.
Every category.
Now, take a look so far in March of 2020, the data that we have, Tesla's number 1.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, in 2019, if you take a look at this list, it wasn't even on the list.
Right.
Tesla was not even on the list in 2019. That is because Model 3 hadn't arrived yet.
And basically, there wasn't any infrastructure there for Tesla. And now there is. I want to go a little off topic and talk about islands for a bit.
Okay.
And Iceland is a great example of this. Islands are the perfect place to start adopting renewable technology because islands, all you've got are the sun, the earth, and the water. And everything else you either need to make from the earth on your little island, or from the sea, or from the air, or from the sky, and that's it. Or you have to import it. And so oil prices on islands are generally much, much higher than they are on mainland places because you have to get a ship to come and drop off all this oil that then you have to go burn, and then you have to have that keep happening, right?
Yep.
There's no like pipelines to islands for the most part.
Right.
So that is why I think that islands are this perfect opportunity for Tesla to shine and show how awesome it is. Iceland, by the way, almost 100% geothermal.
Yeah.
So this is all renewable energy that they are now powering their electric cars with.
I know.
They don't have to pay for the gas, which is super expensive in Iceland. You know, in like 4th grade, when you were like learning about geography and you asked your teacher, like, isn't like North and South America big islands? And your teacher was like, no, they're continents. And you're like, it's an island. It's surrounded by water. And you're like, look at Antarctica. That's an island. And they're like, no, it's a continent. You're like, that's an island.
Wait, did you have that argument with your teacher in the 4th grade?
I had that argument along with many other arguments.
I had that argument in the 5th grade.
Wow.
That's weird.
Yeah. Because you're just like, it's an island.
Yeah.
And that's the big point, is that, yeah, we're all living on islands. The planet is, no,
No, we're not. We're on
water.
continents.
The planet is 2/3 water. So we're all living on an island. There isn't just this big infinite landmass that we're like, oh, don't worry, we got tons more space. We don't really.
Right.
And so starting small with small islands, and then you get to Iceland, which is actually fairly large, and then working your way up, you can finally make it so that it's like, hey, this oil stuff really doesn't make any sense.
It's not that large. It only has 2 superchargers and they cover pretty much the whole island.
Yeah, I suppose so. But
That's tiny in my book.
hey, but the Mercator projection makes it look gigantic.
Tesla's giving away free electricity for 2 months.
So this is if you sign up for Tesla's subscription service solar panels, which is...
Hello, sir. Would you like to subscribe to Tesla today?
It's like getting a magazine that you just permanently put on your roof that prints money. So, the smallest plan you can get is a 3.78 kilowatt system to put on a very small roof. It costs $50 a month, which according to Tesla generates $80 to $450 a year after subtracting the subscription payments.
Wait, so this is a Ponzi scheme? You're making money from your roof?
You're making money. It's going to be offsetting the cost of your electricity rates.
Right.
So, for a small 3.78 kilowatt system, it goes up all the way to about a 15 kilowatt system.
That's huge.
Now that costs $200 a month, but it generates $350 to $1,800 a year after subtracting subscription payments.
That's the key part at the end. After your payments, you still make $350 to $1,800 a year. That's making you money for your pocket.
So it is stupid to not be doing that. Now, I understand that Tesla may not be the perfect, solution for you in terms of solar, but solar still makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
and
you might think that Tesla they've come up with some way to do this that no one else has, but no. Anyone who puts solar panels on their roof is pretty much guaranteed to save money. And if you'd like to do it, but you'd like more answers, and you'd like to get them from a third party where you're like, well, I don't know if I trust, a solar salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the folks at EnergyPal. The team at EnergyPal are energy geeks that help homeowners go solar for less.
And you might be, sitting around at home for the next couple weeks, and you might be a little bored, and you don't want to have any people coming out to your house.
Right.
Well, the good news is that you can talk to the people at EnergyPal completely on the phone and online, so you do not have to meet anyone or put on pants. You can get everything kind of set up for this, spring and summer when people are going to be putting solar on roofs, and you can get your solar system all ready to go because it takes a long time to get, all the permits and stuff done. Start now. Start now when you're just sitting at home. You're probably next to your significant other, either right now or later on in the day, because where else are you guys going to go? Talk to them about solar.
So I know that this works. You know how?
How?
I just talked to the people at EnergyPal. So the people who have called EnergyPal and used our referral code to sign up for solar, so far they have produced 2 million kilowatt hours of energy.
Wow. What is that in terms of carbon?
That's like 6,000 trees growing for 10 years, or replacing 26,000 gallons of gas, or 75 tons of waste sent to the landfill.
That is quite significant. So, hey, if you want to do your part, you want to start, solar, check out EnergyPal. They know what they're talking about, and they work in lots of different states.
Now, was it last week that we talked about that electric bike law in France?
Yes.
And I was afraid that we might have gone a little too far with our whole French thing. Turns out we might have. So JP just sent us this video to set us straight. Off with their bikes!
What's going on?
Well, the legal speed limit for standard e-bikes in France is 25 kilometers an hour. Well, now France has announced a new law, provision L317-1, that fines riders who are caught modding their bikes to go faster with up to 30,000 euros of fine and up to a year in jail.
What?
Hi Zach and Jesse, so after Tesla Time News last week, I did a little digging and here's what I found about Article 317-1. So first, I've learned that this law not only applies to e-bikes, but to any vehicles that has its speed limited at a manufacturing level. So for example, mopeds, scooters, and even road trucks. Then I've learned that e-bikes were not really limited to 25 kph, because they can fall into two different categories. Either they are PABs, pedal assist bikes, or they're considered as mopeds, and mopeds can go up to 45 kph. So what was this law actually made for? Turns out it was actually targeting scooters, because those, whatever the case may be, are only limited to 25 kph. And I guess it would be easy to spot one that goes faster than that. And as for the fine and the year in jail, it's the maximum sentence that you can get if you modify or tinker with your vehicle so that it can exceed its manufacturing capabilities. So that's it. I hope you now better understand the French laws, and don't forget, now you know.
So it's good to know that this is aimed at e-scooters, the scourge of the world. I mean, how dare you want to ride in scooter? Ugh! But this is still a really bad law.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, the first EU directive relating to e-bikes was put into place in 2002. Now,
There were e-bikes in 2002?
there were, and I just want to remind everyone what 2002 was like. That was 18 years ago.
We were allowed to shake hands back then.
Now, back then in 2002, that's where the 250 watt and 25 kilometer per hour speed limit came from.
Okay, can you remind me what e-bikes even looked like in 2002?
They were huge. They resembled motorcycles because they had to have lead acid batteries in them, which made them extraordinarily heavy and big. So you had these really big bicycles that looked like motorcycles, and they were really, really expensive. Really, really expensive. If you wanted one of these, you were paying through the nose for this basically brand new technology. So this was only for serious bike enthusiasts, people who really wanted to have a really, really nice bike.
It doesn't look like there's a hub motor on that thing.
There wasn't. And so all of these bikes were mid-drive. Now, you might be like, mid-drive, who cares if it's hub motor or not? Here's the thing. 250 watts in a mid-drive motor means that your pedaling was now assisted right at the pedals. So if you geared down to go up a hill, you had that 250 watts helping you out right at the pedals with the mechanical advantage, made going up hills pretty easy. But it was expensive. And guess what? Mid-motors are still expensive. Mm-hmm. The cheapest e-bikes today have hub motors. The problem with hub motors is you lose that mechanical advantage.
Oh, so you got to make the hub motor bigger to overcome the fact that you can't get up a hill without it.
Exactly. So 250 watts in a hub motor, depending on the gearing, isn't going to help you as much as a mid-drive motor.
Oh, and the French law limits you to 250 watts, but if I want to
Period.
get up a hill and I want to say a 500-watt motor to help me, now I'm breaking the law.
Exactly. Now, the precedent was set in 2002 in Europe. And so I'm not even like making fun of France here. All of Europe. They decided 250 watts for these crazy weirdo motorcycle bikes. And this is extraordinarily similar to the overreaction and overregulation of cars at the turn of the century. When cars first came out, you had to have a guy with a flag walking in front of the car.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
No, I
actually
don't
remember
remember
that. But that actually happened. And because people were like, well, who are driving these wacko horseless carriages? These sound dangerous. We should put a guy with a flag in front of these horseless carriages.
Sounds like a good law. All in favor? Aye.
And they could only go like 5 miles an hour.
Right.
By law. Right? So they were severely limited in every way as well.
By the horse lobby.
E-bikes today are completely different than the e-bikes of yesteryear, right? They are so much cheaper. They are very approachable for almost everybody. They are much, much lighter with lithium-ion batteries, so they are no longer these big, bulky, heavy things. You can get an e-bike that weighs just about the same as a regular bike, and they could be a game changer in terms of climate change, traffic, health, and pollution. They're affordable, they are parkable, they are fast, they are efficient and clean and easy to ride. They allow their riders to tackle hills, to go as fast as pro bikers without quads the size of watermelons. And you can even arrive to your morning meeting without being covered in sweat.
I think that's a really good point. A lot of bike riders have to bring a change of clothes or a shower when they get to work if you have a long ride.
250 watts is not enough for casual riders, and it's going to result in the lack of adoption for this technology. And I think that that's a mistake. E-bikes could be a huge part of the solution to climate change as well as all of these other things. They are great ways to get exercise without completely exhausting yourself, and if they would just change the law slightly from this antiquated 18-year-old law passed way back when e-bikes were completely different, it would make such an important impact on the world. When something isn't affordable and like you're just like, who is this for? Like, we should regulate this. This seems dangerous. That is when those kinds of laws get passed. But now when it's actually like affordable and helpful for people, I mean, this is going to be so much more equitable for most people. Right now, if you want to get around a city, you're going to need to take a car. Sure, you could take a bike, but there are many cities where it's either too hilly, too far, and people either aren't in that great a shape or they physically can't bicycle themselves around. And e-bikes are going to be the solution to that.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, if you're worried in this legislation about mopeds, then make a law about mopeds. But why are e-bikes lumped in there? And why is there this 250-watt limit? Because that, to me, is ableist. If I'm a person who needs extra help getting up a hill, give me as much help as I need. Why should that be against the law now that Zach is getting help going up a hill?
Right. And I think that speed limits are important. I mean, I do not want fast bikes going on, sidewalks.
Period, though. See, put a period after that.
Right.
Like, if you're a bicyclist who's running your bike completely on pedal power, still, I don't want to get hit by someone going, 40 miles an hour doing that either. So
Right.
just say bikes on this stretch of road are at whatever, 25 kilometers an hour, period.
Right. But I think that having like bike highways where it's like, okay, pedestrians aren't allowed on this. This is just for bikes. The density of traffic that you can fit in terms of people per, square foot is going to be so much higher. There's going to be less traffic, less, traffic fatalities because, two bikes getting into an accident, you go like, oh, I'm sorry, you okay? Well, I really dinged up your bike there. Like, there's no like, oh my God, my whole family died. Right. And it's clean, it's efficient. Like, there's so many benefits to e-bikes, and you're basically cutting them off at the knees by limiting them to 250 watts. I would say 750 to maybe 1,000 watts would be where I would draw the line, and then just have strict speed limits. Like, you can't go faster than this.
I just don't like the whole throttle regulation, that now all of a sudden if you have a thumb throttle, well, oh no. Oh, this thing
Now
is-
that's a moped. Wait a minute.
That thing's deadly now.
It's going to be traveling at roughly the same speed as a bike, unless you're going over the speed limit, which we just talked about. And what that allows you to do is actually be safer, because at dangerous intersections, having that thumb throttle to pop down, 750 watts of power means you can cross the road much quicker, much safer, without you having to like, oh no, I'm in 7th gear. Oh no, oh, that car's going to come hit me and I'm going to die.
Well, and I want to point out that in New York City right now, e-bikes are saving the day.
Wait a minute. I thought that e-bikes were also not allowed in the whole state of New York.
They aren't. So as more and more people are staying hunkered down at home and are ordering food to be delivered during this double plus bad cold, New York City has decided to shelve their ban on e-bikes with a throttle. The New York Police Department will no longer issue tickets or confiscate e-bikes for delivery workers. City Hall spokesman Freddie Goldstein said, "We will be suspending enforcement while restaurants are takeout and delivery only. And then we'll go right back to taking your e-bikes with throttles."
So they're so good. They're doing such a good job right now.
Yeah.
That they're going to be like,
need them.
Oh, we need them right now. But as soon as this crisis is over, we're going to crack down back on you suckers with your throttles. How dare you? But right now, please, I'm so hungry, man. Oh, man, I couldn't even get to the grocery store today. But but we're going to get you out. I'm really hungry.
See, it's not just France we're picking fun at.
Yeah.
It's the state of New York doesn't get it either.
Right.
Anyone who doesn't understand that e-bikes are wonderful technology.
And and it's all based on context, right? E-bikes used to be the most expensive type of bike, besides like motorcycle or moped, right? It used to be only the rich and powerful could afford e-bikes, and they would do like weird, like, I'm going to go ride up 3 mountains today. And you're like, who are you? You know? But now, just normal people can actually afford e-bikes. Why even have these terrible laws? Let's just make laws that actually work and actually will benefit all of us.
And I just want to point out, if we made laws like Elon has said, with sunset clauses, then these laws would have expired, and, after 2002, maybe it would expire in 5 years or something. And if you wanted to reinstitute it, you'd have to go to the trouble of reinstituting it.
Something has to change, and the infrastructure has to change with it. So that includes bike lanes and scooter lanes and all of this kind of stuff. Instead of just like being like, this stuff doesn't work with our infrastructure. How about you change the infrastructure? That's my thought. And that's all we said about that.
The show's called E-Bike Frustration. So Motor Coach Industries, MCI, in partnership with Coach Atlantic Maritime Bus, showed off their new 350 horsepower, 54-seat Coach electric bus. It's called the D45 CRTE Le Charge. Now, I'm sure in the bus world, it doesn't matter what your bus company's called or what the model of your bus is.
No.
So I guess you can call it whatever you want, but that does not roll off
When
the
was the
tongue.
last time you were like, hey, that's a
DR462 LE.
Right. You wouldn't, no, you don't care. So let's drop that one.
But this comes equipped with a 389 kilowatt hour battery, good for 210 kilometers or 131 miles of range. There's also a 544 kilowatt hour version, which is 40% larger, and it charges in less than 3 hours with a 150 kilowatt charger.
Awesome.
Bing, bang, boom. Let's do it, folks.
Let's get some more electric buses.
All of you rock stars who are watching right now, and I know there's quite a few of you.
Absolutely.
This is your next tour bus, folks.
Well, we know that there's at least one rock star watching.
Exactly. This could be the bus for the MMX.
I'm just saying.
All right, so there's been a lot of talk over this past week about ventilators.
Mm-hmm.
Elon has been asked and so forth, so we wanted to go back through the history of Elon's tweets about ventilators, starting with March 18th. Raja asked...
I have a question.
Yes.
What's a ventilator?
Well, so if you're in the hospital and you need help breathing under artificial ventilation, you need a machine that pumps air into your lungs, and that is a ventilator. It's basically just a pump and a tube.
So just to do the breathing for me.
Do the breathing for you, to help you breathe. So Raja asked, please repurpose your factory to make ventilators, Elon, which are needed ASAP. I am a Tesla owner and love the company. You have to stop being an idiot about this. This is a massive disaster. Ask the doctors in the field. And let's just remind you what Raja is talking about. I think he misinterpreted. Elon had said that the coronavirus panic was dumb. He didn't mean that the medical world is dumb or anything. He said the panic is dumb. But anyway, Elon went on to answer, we will make ventilators if there is a shortage. So then on March 19th, Nate Silver said, there's a shortage now. How many ventilators are you making, Elon? And Elon said, Tesla makes cars with sophisticated HVAC systems. SpaceX makes spacecraft with life support systems. Ventilators are not difficult, but cannot be produced instantly. Which hospitals have these shortages you speak of right now? So then Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City said, Elon, New York City is buying. Our country is facing a drastic shortage, and we need ventilators ASAP. We will need thousands in this city over the next few weeks. We're getting them as fast as we can, but we could use your help. We're reaching out to you directly. Elon said, sounds good. We will connect with your team to understand potential needs. Elon said, we're working on ventilators, even though I think there will not be a shortage by the time we can make enough to matter. March 20th, Ed Ludlow says, could the same engineers and facilities used for the Model X and S HEPA filters work on ventilators, Elon? Are the skills, competencies, capacities transferable? Or would this be more likely to borrow from work of SpaceX on Crew Dragon capsule's life support system? Elon says, yes, we're working on ventilators, even though I think they probably won't be needed. Then Dustin said, tip for Elon, if you actually follow through on manufacturing ventilators, your factories will become essential businesses that must stay open.
Wait, so that sounds like Elon's just being a tricky trickster, and he just wants to keep his car factory open.
But, he said, that won't work for auto parts suppliers, so no, our U.S. factory can't stay open. So even if their Fremont factory could, if they've got no supplies from the other factories around the world, they can't make cars. So then Renata said, will you make ventilators in the SpaceX factory? Elon said, yeah, SpaceX is working on ventilators too. Then Pranay said, Elon, when you produce the ventilators, will you open source the ventilator design with the design specs? Many companies who are also trying to manufacture ventilators would appreciate it. Elon said, sure, although ventilator companies definitely know how to make ventilators, just a spike in demand right now. Also, using CPAP machines for less severe cases and using one ventilator for several patients seems like good moves to meet short-term demand. And then, to prove that he did talk to some ventilator companies, Medtronic, which makes ventilators, said, we are grateful for the discussion with Elon Musk and Tesla as we work across industries to solve problems and get patients and hospitals the tools they need to continue saving lives. We're all in this together. Elon said, just had a long engineering discussion with Medtronic about state-of-the-art ventilators. Very impressive team. There you have it, folks. If we need ventilators, Elon's going to help work on it.
Apparently. That's, great. If you can help, you should help. Thank you for helping.
We have more to say on that in the Patreon bonus story, so go check that out later.
So it's a good thing that Tesla hired all of those telekinetic people because now they need to do no-touch service.
What?
Well, if Tesla's doing no-touch service, then I would assume that means you have some people who have mind control powers and can move things with their mind, including loosening nuts and bolts and moving wires around and doing all sorts of repairs with their brains.
No, this story is from Electrek about a Canadian Tesla owner who got this email from a Tesla mobile technician. Maybe it'll make more sense to you.
One who had mind powers. That's how he typed it out. He was like...
Maybe, but no.
Okay.
He said, hello from Tesla Mobile Service. In taking precautionary measures, we invite you to partake in our no-touch service, NTS, experience. NTS includes zero contact with you, and all mobile repairs will be completed without you being present. In order to partake in NTS, we ask the following to prepare for your appointment. 1, make the vehicle available before the arrival window, driveway, parking spot location, open garage, etc. 2, we'll let you know when on site via text and will remotely unlock the vehicle. 3, if payment is necessary, we will call you to pay over phone or through your app. 4, we will wipe down the surfaces touched, lock up the vehicle, and message you when complete.
They didn't say that they didn't hire a bunch of telekinetics to do the repairs.
No, you're right. They didn't say that.
They would wipe down surfaces. I'm just assuming those are people
They could do that with their mind, too.
Those are people who... I'm assuming these are people who are still in training, who might, be like, that's a lot of torque. I'm going to have to go, we'll get the actual... physical torque wrench.
The good news is the customer said this. Everything went fine. The Ranger phoned upon arrival. I unlocked the car via the mobile app. He worked on the car for about 30 minutes, changing the front passenger seat under warranty because of a faulty airbag sensor. He called me to let me know he was done. I went outside to thank him while keeping my distance, at least 12 feet, but he still mentioned to me not to move any closer. Company rules. I found it very professional and reassuring that Tesla is taking this whole situation seriously, and as a Tesla owner, it's very good to know that mobile service will keep on going despite the current situation.
Very cool.
What other car company has that?
Well, it's pretty much similar to any other car manufacturer. You drive your car to the dealership, and then you, walk into the lobby to tell the people what's wrong with your car, and then they make you sit and wait for an indeterminable amount of time, and then they come over to you, and then they'll shake your hand, and then they'll be like, all right, well, here's what's wrong with it. Basically, the whole thing is falling apart.
So nothing like what.
But don't worry. Hey, don't worry, because they leave that mat. They leave that mat under the driver's seat.
That's innovation.
Clean for your convenience. So what's this I hear that Oklahoma wants to be Elon's BFF?
Well, kinda. The state of Oklahoma. Yeah, that Oklahoma is vying to be Elon's next central USA Gigafactory location.
So they threw up this website full of memes to attract Elon's attention.
And they're offering a 1,500-acre BFF.
A BFF?
A big field.
Oh. So that'll be near Tulsa, and that'll be with he just has to put down a $100 refundable deposit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, rating the memes, I've got to say they're good, but they're not dank memes.
No, they're not.
These
dank.
are like...
They're Oklahoma memes. So maybe you'd want to take this offer then from Toby Teeter. He is the Joplin Chamber President here. I'm authorized to give you 100 acres in Biz Park at crossroads of I-44 and I-49 at the center of USA, the historic home of battery tech with 4 of the largest trucking companies in the world near here, plus $50 million in incentives.
So that's Joplin, Missouri?
Yep.
So, and then BFF in Tulsa, Oklahoma said, well, bless his little 100-acre heart. So, a little rivalry.
There's some definite rivalry. I mean, we've got Nashville, here. Austin, Missouri, Oklahoma. A whole bunch of places are vying to get the Gigafactory, which means they're throwing money in the pot there. This is perfect negotiation tactics.
For Elon.
All he had to do is post a couple tweets, and boom, they are throwing millions at him.
Yeah.
So the Chinese EV manufacturer Xpeng,
the one that stole hardware and software from a 2012 Model S.
Ding, 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 ding. Very good. That's the one. Well, now they have applied and received permission from NHTSA and the U.S. Department of Transportation to test their P7 EV on U.S. roads.
But now, isn't Xpeng mostly just focused on selling cars in China?
Here's my conjecture. You ready?
Yeah.
Conjecture alert. Oh. Conjecture alert.
Ooh.
Just like copying the Model S, so maybe they plan on waiting until Tesla has achieved full self-driving, and then they will steal Tesla's software and reverse engineer the hardware again to ride Tesla's coattails in the U.S. by making their cars available for Uber and Lyft and other autonomous driving rideshare.
Interesting, because Tesla would be its own autonomous driving rideshare network. Well, okay, but I mean, keep in mind what they did. They stole a bunch of stuff from Tesla, allegedly, and then fell behind almost immediately because Tesla just kept forging ahead with their full self-driving technology, right. And Xpeng was kind of left holding all the stuff they allegedly stole.
Well, I mean, they're still ahead of other auto manufacturers because they have a Tesla-like, a 2012 Tesla-like vehicle, which compared to most other auto manufacturers is way ahead.
That's true.
It's time for our video contributor stories, sponsored by GoPuck. We just got through using a GoPuck yesterday. We're about to go shoot our Robert's Model Y. Mm-hmm. We got in the car, driving over there. And
Camera's dead.
Camera's dead.
But don't worry, got the GoPuck, plugged it right in. We're able to use it during the whole shoot, fit right in my pocket. So it's a great little handy battery bank. It's just the perfect size, has just the amount of power that you need. It's very energy dense, more energy dense apparently than the Model 3.
Yeah, and it's not just for YouTubers. You can use it for your phone, whatever you need. Right. And just use our referral link down below, get a discount.
Hey, hi there. This is Nick. Got a Tesla Model 3. Very happy with it. One thing I don't like is when the camera gets blinded and it refuses to change lane automatically. This has been happening now for the last couple of months. I drive back and forth Montreal, Ottawa, whereby the camera is blinded by the sun. And I'll show you how bright the sun is today. At minus 17 Celsius. Blinds pretty much anything. So I couldn't figure out how to get that camera to work when it dawned on me. Put sunglasses on the camera. And this is what I did. See that? It's a piece of Mylar that I got off a pair of 3D glasses, and it worked perfectly. The car was able to make automatic lane changes without any issues. Now, if only they can figure out how to make that work automatically. I guess it's possible to do it digitally. That'd be great, because as it is, out of the box, the car won't change lanes if it can't see. Anyway, now you know, if you want to drive in bright sunlight, put sunglasses on the cameras and the car will be a lot happier. Well, I'm back from my road trip, which the return was done at night. I can tell you that there were no issues with lane changes, even though the red filter was on the lens. I would have guessed that it would have been more difficult, seeing that this has made the vision a little darker at night, but it didn't seem to have an issue. Oh, by the way, this is it's the red half of my 3D glasses that I cut out. And look carefully here, we'll see that it only partially covers the lens, or the camera's eye there. There, just cover it. Yeah, so that little red filter did the trick and allowed the automated lane changes despite having the sun shining directly on it.
So interesting that he brought this up, because when we saw the Model Y, it's got a smaller aperture around the camera to do pretty much what he said, which is to block the sun from getting in there.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories. Head on over to Patreon, support us for as little as $1 a month, and you get to see all of our Patreon bonus stories. And we're going to talk about something this week that we can't talk about on the main show.
It's a Patreon bonus story.
And we're back from the Patreon bonus stories, and that felt good. I got a lot off my chest, and we got a lot of good
That was
information
a
out.
long
So that
one.
was, yeah.
You are getting your money's worth out of that
Yeah.
Patreon bonus story right
If you're
there.
feeling a little stressed out right now and you need some
Catharsis and some,
Go
and
check
some
it out.
relief and some humor.
Yeah.
That's the, wow. There's a really good Patreon bonus story. I'm just going to say it.
Here's some really good Patreons.
Heinz Wolfgang Schultz,
Adam DeGraff,
Oliver Klozov,
Luis Rodriguez,
Carl Holmes,
Adian Fay,
Marco Nierup,
Mark Bradley,
Sidar Sakic,
Salvatore Iozia,
Who, Why,
Matt Cohen,
Drake.
Dennis Roberts. Thank you so much, guys. All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week. Now, this was really interesting to me. This gave a little biography of Elon here. I knew about it from his Ashley Vance biography, but this gave a little more context. So this is talking about when Elon got malaria when he went to South Africa. It says, I was first misdiagnosed at Stanford Hospital with viral meningitis, then again misdiagnosed at Sequoia. A visiting doctor from San Jose General saw my charts and sent me to the ICU immediately. I was 36 hours away from being unrecoverable, so I take expert advice with a grain of salt. What's worse is that I even told Stanford to check me for the damn parasite, and they still couldn't find it.
So he had malaria. He was in South Africa, and then he came back, and he wasn't feeling very good.
Right.
And he was like, I think I might have malaria. And they
like,
were like,
nope.
we don't think you have malaria. And then another doctor was like, hey, you have malaria.
Yeah. We almost, if it weren't for that San Jose doctor, we may not have Elon right now.
Can you imagine that?
No. Michael said, Elon, Bucks of Woodside is rumored to be shutting down due to this quarantine. That's where you met with VCs and received your original funding for PayPal and Tesla. Can you float them for 3 or 4 weeks while this mandatory quarantine plays out? I didn't know what Bucks of Woodside was till I Googled it.
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant in Woodside. And so Elon said, if Jammies needs help, he has many friends, me among them. Wow, that's really nice.
Cool.
So remember during this time, support your local businesses as much as you can. And Friedberg said, the whole world experience has become like a bad episode of Black Mirror.
Elon says, feels like the plot of Deus Ex. That's a video game.
Interesting.
For
Well,
those of
now
you-
you've got time to play video games.
There
so,
you go. So go play it.
And then
I
Elon
guess.
said, panic is always dumb. And I think these are very important words to remember during this time especially. All right, it's time for community mail time.
Community mail time.
So David spotted a supercharger being built in Ontario, Oregon. So I think this is really cool. It's right next to the Jolts and Juice, which is very appropriate. You get your Jolts, go get some juice. And our friend Treyon spotted a Polestar.
Wait, that's the Polestar?
That's the Polestar.
Oh, that looks pretty good.
So our autonomous driving future series is now captioned in Portuguese.
Really?
Yes. So a big shout out to Victor for doing this. Thank you so much, Victor. We couldn't have done that without you because I don't speak Portuguese.
That's awesome. We talk about all kinds of ways on this channel about how we can live more sustainably, including what we wear. Well, there is a company called Nowyouknow out there in the Netherlands that we heard about from a viewer, and they are running a Kickstarter campaign to sell these awesome pants made from hemp. Hemp is a super sustainable plant, and you can make fabric from it. And I have been wearing these Nowyouknow hemp pants for the past few days. Might as well show them off.
Yeah. There you go. They look like pants.
Huh?
They look like pants.
They look like pants. They're very comfy.
Do they feel like pants?
They feel like pants.
Do they smell like pants?
Maybe.
Do they sound like pants?
Yeah.
So they're pants.
They're pants.
They're made out of hemp.
Yep.
Now, again, what makes hemp so special compared to like regular old jeans?
Yeah, so hemp uses no agrochemicals to grow. It uses 70% less water than cotton and 50% less land use. And Noello has a zero waste production, so they're basically not wasting anything. And their longer term goal is to build a workshop in Spain powered by solar energy. And we've
Cool.
talked to them. We've checked out the pants. I love them.
Yeah.
I totally endorse their product. Go to their Kickstarter. There's only a few days left on it. If they can reach their goal, they're going to be able to start a solar powered workshop. What's better than that?
Making sustainable pants.
That's better than that. Yeah.
Pants that can be recycled and turned into other products.
I know. It's awesome.
It's so nice to be able to have people reach out to us who are running really nice, sustainable companies. And it's so nice to have hemp pants.
Yeah, and you're not going to meet nicer people either.
Absolutely not.
All right, it's time for our on-air question of the week. What do we got?
So Michael asks us, hygiene. Talk to taxi and Uber drivers and they will tell you people are generally gross.
True.
In regard to robo-taxis, how will they be kept clean between riders? I wonder if this has been considered when designing the business plan. So,
Interesting.
a thing to keep in mind here is that your car is as cheap as the manufacturer can make it.
Yep.
Right? So your seats are enough to entice you. They are stylish. They are cool looking. And they are designed to last you the life of your car. But keep in mind that you are not driving your car 95% of the time. So 95% of the time, your car is just sitting there. And you're not sitting in the car.
Right.
So the seats don't have to care. And you're going to clean it because you own it. And if you get in your car and you're like, it's gross in here.
You're just fitting into his argument here, though. Like, what are
So-
they doing about it?
If you wanted to build a car that is going to be used constantly, you change the construction.
Right, kind of like a bus or a train. They have seats that are easy to clean.
Right.
I'm not saying they'll be hard plastic seats, but I think you definitely come up with seats and materials that are easily clean, maybe
Right.
even pressure washable.
Yeah, I mean, it could verify that there was nothing living in there, and then turn on some UV lights to
Yeah.
kill off all the germs. And I mean, keep in mind, it can just go drive to basically a open door car wash if it wanted to,
Right.
and you could design the car so that it would be easy to clean. You know, it just all of these different aspects that you're not building the car like you are today. You're going to build it so that way, the doors come off and you can slide in a giant sprayer that's going to, and then you design the seats so that they don't get waterlogged, that
Right.
they just, wipe clean.
Also, there's going to be a camera in the car, so if you are gross in the car, they're going to know who you are. So knowing that, people are going to be less gross.
Right.
All right, we put out a poll. It asked, do you find our Supercharger review map helpful?
So I think that a lot of people don't know that we have, you see the Supercharger reviews each week. We have a map that's just full of them in the locations where they exist.
Yeah, you can go see all of them if you want to. Yeah, it's at nowyouknowchannel.com.
And you could find it. It's the Supercharger
Yeah.
review section. Now, most people, sadly, have never used it, which is fine. Most of our patrons don't have EVs, or Teslas specifically.
Right.
That's fine. But
Yet.
a lot of people wanted us to turn it into an app, and there were lots of other features that some people thought we should have, like a search function.
This is really helpful information. We should...
Right. To be completely frank, the person who was working on this project left. So we don't have anyone working on it. No one can fix it or make changes at the moment. If you want to help us, please reach out to us and let us know your background in web design, because we would love any help you can offer, whether it's just kind of fixing our frankly not that great system or creating improvements.
Right.
Whatever it may be, we would super appreciate it.
All right, it's time for Supercharger Reviews, sponsored by our friends at Evannex. If you're looking for awesome accessories for your Tesla, check out Evannex and use our discount code to save you even more.
Hi, Zach and Jesse, just reviewing the destination charger at the Ockenden Manor Spa in Sussex. It's in the town of Cuckfield, which is incredibly beautiful. We have 3 destination chargers, be 11 kilowatts, 2 Tesla and 1 Type 2 charger of the same. They're just behind me on the walls here. There's nothing here unless you're booked into the hotel, which is well worth a stay. It's gorgeous, but Cuckfield's a proper chocolate box, traditional British Sussex village. And if you're in the area and you're running low on volts, pay it a visit. Now you know.
Zach and Jesse Marlowe here. Welcome to Abbotsford, British Columbia at the High Street Mall. We have now 12 V3 superchargers that have just been turned on. And on your trip north with your Roadster on your way to my house, you just may possibly stop in. Many amenities, but they're all above. So I'd give this place, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Now you know.
Hey Zach and Jesse, this is the Supercharger in Erfstadt. It's kind of small actually, there's not much around here, but it does have around 14 stalls I think. There's some more back there. But there's not really any restaurants or bars or anything like that. So I would probably give it like a 3 out of 10. But it does charge pretty quick and it gets the job done. Now you know.
Hey Zach and Jesse, it's Morgan here calling you in from Richmond, British Columbia. I'm at the brand new 20 stall, 150 kilowatt supercharger. It's right in the heart of Richmond, just moments from Vancouver International Airport. So you can get your rental Tesla and bring it on down here to supercharge. And while it's here supercharging, you've got a fabulous huge mall. You've got some of the best dim sum and sushi and Thai in all of North America. So I would definitely rate this supercharger a 10 out of 10. It is just amazing in terms of services and amenities, many hotels all around, and it's super fast and so many stations. Now you know.
Man, I love that part of the show. It's so nice that you guys are going out there showing us what these chargers actually look like and then giving them a rating. All right, and there's new superchargers in the world. So if you're like, but all of them have been reviewed. First of all, they haven't. Second of all, there's new superchargers. What do we got this week?
We got the 8-stall 250 kilowatt in Vero Beach, Florida.
Number 97 in Canada is the 12-stall 250 kilowatt in Abbotsford, British Columbia.
The 8-stall version 3 in Northbrook, Illinois.
The 8-stall version 3 in Tumwater, Washington.
And number 796 in the USA, number 1824 in the world, is the 12-stall 250 kilowatt in Fishkill, New York. All right, it's time for a giveaway. So you know this, right? If you join our Patreon, you can get your name in this bucket of fun, and you might be able to win something. Every week we give away something fun. This week it's going to be an EcoWare t-shirt, which is designed with solar energy, completely carbon offset. You buy a tee or win a tee, and we plant a tree.
So it's carbon negative.
It's carbon negative.
And you can buy this shirt, by the way.
I know, right?
Model Y. If you're getting a Model Y. If you're getting a Model Y, you can get this shirt. I'm sure the person watching this video would like it. Worth a shot, right? And the winner is Dione Ryan Kursaki.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You won yourself an EcoWare t-shirt.
You made it to the end of the show. And what I wanted to talk about is the Electric Performance Channel.
Yes.
We launched it a couple weeks ago. Or a week ago.
A week ago.
I think it's just been a week. It feels
had amazing growth so far. Thank you to everyone who have subscribed to that channel. If you haven't, you are uncool for not subscribing to the Electric Performance channel. We've got some really cool stuff on there. We've got the COTA track, which stands for Circuit of the Americas. It's a racetrack. We took a Model S on a racetrack.
You and Blake did.
I didn't drive.
It was fun.
Blake drove. And we're going to be putting out some dirt rally stuff in the Model S again. And we're also going to be doing the entire road to Pikes Peak, which is...
We already started it.
We already started it. So getting the Model 3 ready to race up Pikes Peak and hopefully beat the electric
Blake
record.
is already doing so many cool things in the car. Like, we already know about some of the things he's doing in it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
We'll tell you something.
No, don't tell them. They have to go there to find out.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Yes. Go
find
over
out.
there and find out. It's drifting.
He's working really hard. I told you not to tell them. He's working
now you have to go watch.
He's working really hard
and
to
subscribe.
make great videos
Yes.
and sharing them with you. And you're going to get to see the whole thing. Now, the thing is, there's something that happened with Pikes Peak because of the whole world news thing.
And you're going to have to go find out over on the channel. Hit the subscribe button, please. It helps us out a lot. Seriously, please go do it. This is the end of the video, so you're going to have to go do something. Electric Performance Channel. Now you know.